Hello friends! On Fridays throughout the month of March, I will be setting up and showing you how I set up the yearly parts of my journal. As you know, my planning year starts in March, so I've just started working in this journal, and I'm not stressing to make sure that I have everything set up before March begins. Therefore, I'll be giving myself time throughout the month to go in and set things up in the order that it'll be useful to me. My first few pages in the journal are the calendar for the year. On the left side of the page, I have the calendars written out for each of the months. So we are going here from March to October and all the way up to next February. Writing in these little monthly calendars can be a little tedious, but I personally really enjoy doing that. It's like a little meditative practice. And one of my favorite times to work here in the journal is in the morning while I'm having my morning coffee. And that's why sometimes mistakes happen, like things don't get written in the column where I had intended them to be. You could easily just print out and paste in little calendars, but like I said, I have really enjoyed writing these in. For now, the only one that I really have completed is March. Ultimately, this right side of each of the pages will have the birthdays corresponding to this particular month. I have to say I was one of those people who could never remember anyone's birthday, and I felt really bad about it, but since I've been writing them into my journal, I've really been on top of things, which I really appreciate. And then every month when I go in to set up my monthly calendar, I'll come in here and pull information from my birthday list. So I don't have all that written in just yet, but I will go into my last year's journal and transfer those birthdays over. Next to each month here in the middle between the calendar and the birthdays is going to be a spot for any appointments or events that I have, especially ones that are for a future month and not the one that I am currently in. So if this month I am making any appointments for March, I'm not coming in here to write them in because I already have a March calendar to write them in. But let's say I needed to make an appointment. For example, I have to make an appointment for a dental cleaning, and if that appointment isn't going to be until April, let's say, then I will come in here and make a note which date my appointment is, or if I have an invitation for a wedding or something else that's coming up in the future, this is where those things will be written in so that when I come in to set up the following month, I can see what's going on. But I also have a really nice overview of what my next month or the next few months look like if I'm trying to plan a trip, a vacation, or anything. So this is where I would have that. And again, this is going to be all 12 months until the future February. And then this will continue through to March and April, even though by this point I'll be in the next journal. But again, if I'm in February and scheduling something or something's coming up, I have a spot to write it in here for March, April, and anything beyond that, so that when I set up my next journal, I can come in here and just grab these events and transfer them over. So there's a designated spot for that. Additionally, here on top, I have a little section titled Next Year. And all these headings and stuff, typically I would just write that in. I don't have the best handwriting, so sometimes if I'm really feeling creative, I can use a stencil, or sometimes I honestly don't care. But I do have a bunch of these stickers that I got from Dollar Tree a long time ago, so I'm trying to use them up. So this next year area is a space that I have for any ideas for what I want to do next year. It doesn't necessarily have to be events, but it could be new hobbies I want to look into, or just any ideas that I have for next year that I want to explore. It's nice to have a little spot in the journal to write those ideas down, especially if they're not necessarily things I can get into right away, but I want to keep them in the back of my mind because I think, well, that's a great idea. I should definitely do that someday. And this is here just because I will be coming in here to grab any events that are coming up when I'm setting up the new journal. So then I'm also on this page when I'm working in next year's journal, and I can look at these ideas and see if any of them still resonate with me or something that I do want to look into further. So this is the first thing I usually have set up in my journal. The next thing I have set up in my yearly journal is a space for goals, because that is the main focus of even having a journal for me. I have my goals written out and I can keep track of those. And this year, aside from the goals, I have certain things I want to focus on. I have those focuses listed up top. And then I have a space here underneath for ideas that I can do towards that particular focus. Then after my goals page, the next thing I have is my year divided into quarters. And this is mainly for my goals and other important things that I want to achieve this year, so that when I break those down into smaller steps, I can divide them up and kind of plan out when within my year those will happen. It just helps me tackle the bigger things into smaller parts. And this setup is very simple. It is done the way it is. The only thing I need to do is come in and erase my pencil marks of when I divided up my page. And then I have this on a post-it note, just needs to be rewritten here, but I was just brainstorming and did not have my journal in hand at the moment. So then going further into these setups, everything following the focus and goals will basically correspond to this, and will just be the goals and the focus, especially the goals, being broken down and having their own space where I can really break them down into smaller parts, like I've mentioned in my other videos. So in this spot, I'm breaking it down into quarters. And again, I'm going to be keeping it very simple. A lot of the setups here are very simple. I want to make sure that I'm not spending more time setting things up than actually doing it. As fun as working in the journal is, you always have to be honest with yourself and be mindful that sometimes having a really nice setup and working on it for a long time may really distract you from the goal that you're trying to achieve, which is actually getting stuff done and not just having a pretty place to write that down. So it's always a balance for me. I've done different things throughout the years. Then for my other planning pages here, I just have some sticky notes with some rough planning. Some of the ideas here have changed throughout time as I was brainstorming, and those are not necessarily set up just yet, but I'll show you that in the following week's videos as I show you the progress of what I'm setting up week to week. But all of these, either trackers or pages for planning, are going to be corresponding to my goals and my focus. Here we are at another page that I've basically set up already. Like I said, I'm trying to focus on the pages that I'm going to be using right away and have those set up first. This is going to be my cleaning tracker. I've used them in the past and really love them. Really helps me stay on track. This is one that I've used in the past. So it's going to look something like this when it's all done, hopefully even more filled in. So I have this one almost completed. All I have to do is just erase my pencil marks from here, mark my months, and then here write down all my cleaning tasks that correspond. So these here will be my weekly tasks, my monthly tasks, my quarterly tasks, the tasks I want to get done every 6 months, and some yearly tasks that I have. So no time like the present. Let me finish setting that up with you now. Okay, as you can see, I have my months labeled. Again, I'm using up that sticker page that I have. It just makes me happy to use things up so I'm not accumulating things. The sticker placement may not be perfect. Some letters are a little crooked, and a long time ago, the perfectionist in me would have hated that. But the wonderful part of growth is that I have learned to let things go. They do not have to be perfect to make me happy. And we've all may have heard that perfection is the enemy of progress. And that is so, so true for people that have those perfectionist tendencies. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write in all the cleaning tasks right here on the left-hand side. Okay guys, here we are. I have my cleaning and organizing tasks here that I want to do on a regular basis, divided by how often I do them. Basically, every week as I'm doing my planning, I will be coming in here and looking at the weekly tasks I need to get done, make sure that I'm keeping up with those, picking out something from the monthly or even the other ones here just to make sure I am able to get them done, and then coloring in the corresponding box for that particular week, month, or whatever. So once this is all filled in, looks pretty cool. For each particular month, I am using the color that I'm using for that month in the journal. And then when I'm doing my weekly or monthly tasks, obviously they'll be in that particular color, but then you can also see the tasks that are not done on a monthly basis, and you can see which color I used, meaning which month I did them in. For this particular journal, it looks like I really had a lot of motivation in May. I did pretty good in November, and then January was another good month here because those are mainly the colors I'm using. If you want to be more specific, and for example, for these yearly tasks, you want to know exactly when in January you did them, you can put a little X corresponding to that particular week once you color it in, and then you can see which week of that month you did it in. Or for these quarterly tasks, same thing. You did it in November, but when in November, you can just put a little X and then it corresponds to a particular week. Again, I've used this tracker in the past for a few years and I've really, really loved it. I am showing you this particular year's because honestly, I had been the most consistent. So I'm hoping that this current year will be even more consistent than this. Now, another question that might come up is that I have 4 weeks for every month and 12 times 4 is only 48. So what do I do on those weeks that this tracker doesn't really cover? And since that's only a few weeks a year, honestly, I consider those bonus weeks. So if somewhere between long months, there comes a week that, I've really completed 4 here and I have 4 here, I can just take that week off. I can do whatever I want. Just a little bonus throughout the year. I even give myself permission to do absolutely nothing. Now, to demonstrate this further, week 1 of March is almost over. And now that I have this setup done, I can come in here and check off what I've done so far and see what I still need to do for this week. For example, for dishes, ideally, I'd like to do them twice a week, so I'm not dreading a sink full. And for this week, I've only done them once. So I will just color in half of this tracker. And when I do dishes again this week, I'll color in the other half. Honestly, this week I've been dragging a little bit, so I don't have anything else to check off, which means that today and tomorrow are going to be some busy days if I want to keep up and make sure I get everything done. It is very unlikely that I'm going to get anything done except what I need to get done this week. Ultimately, if you look at this, it isn't much. For those 2 times of doing the dishes, maybe that's a half an hour. Watering plants is 5 minutes. Cleaning the toilet and the vanity in the bathroom, how long could that take? 10 minutes? So what are we up to? 45 minutes now? Wiping down the counters, that usually happens after I wash the dishes. That's 5 minutes, so we're at 50 minutes. Clothes usually refers to folding and putting clothes away, so I don't have a chair robe going, my clean laundry isn't sitting around, and I try to do my laundry every week, so there's not that much. So that may be 10 minutes. So now we're at an hour, and then sweeping is maybe another 15 minutes or so. So we're at an hour and 15 of work for the week, and that is very doable. Ideally, I would prefer not to put it off until the very end of the week and have to do it all at once, but sometimes things just don't work out ideally, and that's something I'm working on. The important thing for me here using this tracker is that I know exactly what I need to get done so I can tell myself that I'm successfully keeping up with the cleanliness of my house. Otherwise, in my brain, I would have a bunch of these things going and thinking to myself that all these things need to get done. I would get overwhelmed and end up doing nothing or doing something random and not keeping up with the regular things that allow me to keep my house semi-clean. Is it true that my floor really needs to get washed? Yes, it is. But you know what? If it doesn't happen this week, that's fine. Let me just focus on the tasks for the week. And in a few days, a new week starts and new opportunities to get things done. So again, I've really, really loved this tracker. It's really helped me focus and be productive without being super stressed. Also, this cleaning list is not completely exhaustive of everything that needs to be cleaned. I have a little more space on the bottom. If some task comes up throughout the year where I really feel I need to add that to my cleaning tracker, I will. I can always add that here on the bottom and divide that appropriately for how often I want to do it. And again, there are probably many other tasks that are involved in making sure everything's cleaned or doing a deep clean. But this is pretty good for me. It's been working. I will continue working on this. Maybe one day if I perfect this, I can take some things out that are just automatic and I don't have to worry about anymore. But for now, this is working for me. All right, guys, so far, this is what I have set up for my year. Next Friday, I'll have a few more and I'll show you those, what they look like, how I'm using them, why I have set them up this way. So if you want to follow along, Mondays are going to be weekly check-ins and weekly plannings. Wednesdays, I will be talking about my goals specifically and how I'm breaking those down. Last Wednesday, I went over all my goals generally. And this coming Wednesday, I'll be talking about particular goals and how I'm coming up with steps to get to those goals. And Fridays, it'll be mostly about setting up the yearly part of my journal. And that's kind of the plan for March. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.